everyone, it's Tanny Games here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about some potential theories or predictions for Disney Dreamlight Valley next year. Maybe a little bit about this year too. But just sort of some predictions that I've maybe sort of come up with based on what we're hearing from D23 at the moment. For those that don't know what D23 is, it's basically the Disney convention. It's like the big event where a lot of stuff gets announced or leaked. And I mean, some of it we already kind of knew about, but like they often drop trailers and things like that at these events. So we get a lot of news from D23. I believe, from what I understand, from what I've been told from Cami, thank you very much, there should be some gaming Disney related talk or showcase or something like that later on today. So we might get news about Dreamlight Valley from that. I'm not entirely sure. We might not. As far as I'm aware, apparently there's a big Fortnite thing. So, but I don't know all too much. But just from what we've seen from D23 in regards to film announcements and stuff like that, like I said, some of it I kind of already knew about, kind of knew was in the works and stuff. But some of it I didn't know about, so some of it was sort of like news for me. But either way, it was super fun finding out about a lot of these announcements, seeing the leaks. Well, not really leaks because they're announcements, they're not leaks, but teasers is what I want to say. But it sort of made me think about maybe things we've been asked in surveys before and what it could mean for Disney Dreamlight Valley. Now, I will talk about a couple of things and then I'll get to my bigger theory towards the end. I'm going to cover, I guess, a few things. The first thing I want to talk about is the Lilo and Stitch live action. Now, the Lilo and Stitch live action is apparently scheduled for summer 2025. Now we know that Dreamlight Valley does sometimes do tie-ins with film stuff, like we had a Memory Mania event and stuff like that. So I could definitely see Dreamlight Valley doing something to tie in with these big film announcements we got coming up. And I'm wondering, we have Stitch in the game. Could it be possible that for summer next year, we get like a summary based character? We get Lilo to match Stitch. I think that would be kind of fun. We could certainly have it come in, or have Lilo come in as like a 2 character update, because we could have Lilo and her sister, is it Nani? I keep always calling her Nani, and I really hope she's called Nani. It shows how long it's been since I actually watched Lilo and Stitch. Let me type in Lilo's sister. Yeah, Nani. Okay. So I was right. But yeah, I have a feeling that, you know, potentially we could see a Lilo character come, a Lilo character. We could see Lilo come in next summer. It would help tie in with the live action movie, or they could do some Stitch based event, for, the tie-in. I mean, I think it could work. I mean, obviously based on the location of the film for Lilo and Stitch, having both a summer release for the film and also perhaps bringing it in as part of a summer update would really work, actually. Because obviously Lilo could come with a lot of items that would be perfect for the summer and stuff like that. So what do you think? Do you think we could possibly get Lilo next year? Now, I can't recall if she featured much in the surveys. What I probably should have done before doing this video was actually go back through the surveys, rewatch my videos and make notes. I didn't do that. That wasn't very smart. Hindsight, what a good thing. But yeah, I am curious, like, what do you guys think? Do you think perhaps we could have Lilo and Stitch next summer? Now, another theory that I had was potentially about Zootopia. Now, I know Zootopia came up quite a bit in the last survey, I specifically remember, because I remember being like Zootopia, because I'm not a Zootopia fan. I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, I am not a fan. Um, but Zootopia 2 is scheduled for release in November next year. Now, that could possibly tie in for next year's update, end of next year, and that would make perfect sense why they would be asking in this most recent survey about Zootopia, to see if it was something people were looking forward to see if it's something that they should maybe integrate for end of next year, so that people could be excited for the movie, but also for the game. And because that is something that they did ask in the survey. I can't remember if it was in relation to events, but they did ask about like movie tie-ins and stuff. So I definitely think they were gauging our reaction to that. So obviously this is all based off of them working on the principle that they want to release characters sort of in line with some movies. So could we potentially see the first of the Zootopia characters towards the end of next year? I mean, we're getting Timon and Pumbaa this October. So could they potentially do another sort of October, November update next year where we get the Zootopia characters, or maybe for Christmas? Perhaps, I don't know. I'd definitely be intrigued to see if they do come, and sort of what time frame they come, whether they do come in line with the release of Zootopia to the cinemas. But I do think that's potentially quite a good theory or expectation. Now, there have been sort of showcases or trailers of other movies. So there was the announcement for Toy Story 5. Now we do have Buzz and Woody. There's potential for us to get more characters. I think if we got more, we would be looking at Jessie and perhaps Bo Peep coming to the game. I think we would get all the toys before we would ever get someone like Andy or Bonnie to the game. Realistically, I don't think we would get Andy or Bonnie in the game. But yeah, potentially we could have something to tie into them. But I'm just not as sure, because they're not big central characters. Well, they are kind of big central characters, but they're not the too big. Whereas, like, when I think about Lilo and Stitch, I think of how Lilo is, like, the second or the biggest character in Lilo and Stitch. I mean, she's, like, in the title kind of thing. Whereas I would say when I think of Toy Story, the first two characters I would immediately think of would be Woody and Buzz, which is why we've got Woody and Buzz. So I'm not entirely sure whether or not we would get anything to time with them when the film updates, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember when that was scheduled for. I don't even think they announced a date. I don't think, but obviously, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll probably check after I finish filming this. But they were a couple of thoughts I had. Potentially we could get Lilo next summer, and we could potentially get Zootopia characters at the end of next year. Provided the feedback on the survey wasn't too detrimental. I think if the feedback reveals a lot of people don't want Zootopia, they might skip that. Now let's get on to my bigger prediction, which actually ties in with news that Disney Dreamlight Valley did actually release, which was on their content roadmap, and they did a teaser for the showcase. Now, I had a massive discussion after the teaser was shown, trying to theorize who I thought could be coming, or who could be surrounding the next DLC and stuff like that. And my thoughts that I came to were Pinocchio, because there's the opening scene with the book of Pinocchio. It has a red bookmark, and Jiminy Cricket uses a candle to keep the book open. So literally looks exactly alike. The next theory was also about the evil queen from Snow White, because she does have a book. There are melted candles when she looks at the book. Yeah, I think it's very, very possible. In fact, possibly even more so now. I'll get into that in a second. And then my third theory was about a sort of sword in stone tie-in. There's a weird branch thing, which I was instantly thinking is like a perch for Archimedes. That's the closest thing I could find to that branch. I literally couldn't find a branch in any of the movies that I was looking through to try and tie into this book. The branch doesn't exist. Even when looking at the Snow White comparison, the crow that she has in the basement dungeon area where she does her spells sits on top of like a skull. It doesn't sit on a branch. And obviously I couldn't find any branch reference with Pinocchio unless you count the fact that he's a puppet and made of wood. So is the branch a reference to wood and Pinocchio? Perhaps. Perhaps. But I do feel like I'm leaning more towards the evil queen theory a little bit more, because Snow White, the live action Snow White, releases in 2025. So I believe it's about March that it releases. So that would make it like smack bang in the middle of like a few of the updates, or around the second part of the update potentially. Because I'm kind of thinking, you know, if we do get the start of the next DLC in December, we should follow suit that we get an update in February, and then another one sort of around summertime. If they followed the same pattern, that is, if they follow the same pattern, and March would sit in between updates or around the time of that, depending on what dates they run to. And I do think that would tie in really well. You've got the release of Snow White. If it unveils, if the story unveils a bit like how it did with Jafar, you know, I do think that maybe we could have a climactic moment with the evil queen around February, which would tie in with the Snow White release. You know, it would work in terms of like both kind of promoting each other, if that makes sense. Like, even though I definitely feel like if we get the evil queen, it's going to be the animated queen. It's not going to be the live action. But either way, there's some sort of like overall connection kind of thing. So I'm kind of thinking the evil queen theory has a lot of ground into it, because I keep thinking about the Pinocchio theory, and, you know, we could get like a Jiminy Cricket or Pinocchio and stuff like that. I'm just not sure how big of a want that currently is, and whether they would deem it as worthy for a big DLC. I feel like if we're going to get a DLC, it's going to need a big character to draw people to it. I don't think, again, Archimedes with Merlin, I don't think even with Arthur, whether it would have the draw. I mean, it would be kind of cool in a sense to kind of get Arthur and maybe have that kind of like mythical, historical kind of valley, like a woodsy, foresty valley to tie into sort of like those olden day legends, if that makes sense. Like, I think in some ways that would be kind of cool, but I do have to admit, we need a big bad as well. I have a feeling that the DLCs will follow suit as what this current DLC has done with A Rift in Time, where they have a big bad who's causing the trouble, giving us a reason to venture to this land, and stay there and fix it up or whatever it may be. And then we get some friendly characters along the way. Now, obviously, when we got the DLC, we did get two villains effectively. We got Gaston and we got Jafar. I do hate how they did Gaston dirty. They just made him into an idiot, which I don't think Gaston's an idiot at all in the film. He's very sly, he's very calculating. He doesn't approve of, like, you know, intellect, but it doesn't make him dumb. I think his intelligence is just a different kind of intelligence. It's not, you know, book smarts or anything like that, but he's obviously very cunning, very sly, and, you know, he clearly has an amount of charisma and stuff like that. And in the game, he's just an idiot. Like, there's no way Gaston in game could have roused up an entire village to fight against the beast. Like, the Gaston in game is just not it. I have a real dislike for Gaston in game. I think he's a terrible depiction. But maybe they softened him down a bit so that Jafar looked worse. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, my guess is we're going to have one big bad per update. Or at least one overarching big bad. We could have other villainous characters, but like one main figurehead. And having the evil queen be that could work, I definitely think. So I think that's something that Gameloft are going to be considering going forward, is the DLCs, who causes the trouble. So we might find that we don't get too many villains because of the fact that they want to reserve villains for the DLCs. I think we'll get, you know, some villains here and there, but I think they obviously are considering future updates and DLCs and who they want as the figurehead of that. I definitely do think that. So that's just some thoughts. So what do you think to the theories? Do you think we could get Lilo next year for summer? Do you think we could be looking at Zootopia characters at the end of next year? And what are your thoughts on the theory of the evil queen being the big bad for the next update to tie in with the Snow White live action release? Let me know your thoughts. I'm very, very curious. I think a lot of people are going down the Snow White route. Certainly from what I'm seeing on socials, that tends to be what everyone else is in agreement of. So, I in some ways, I'd be kind of gutted if it is, because I'd be like, oh, we all figured it out so easily, and, you know, it wasn't as surprising kind of thing. But then also, it's kind of nice to go, ha, we were right, we knew it, we figured it out, we did the detective work and we figured it out kind of thing. But literally, when I went through, I skimmed through so many movies just looking for scenes. I was watching videos on YouTube of all the book openings just to see if any of the books look similar. That's how I landed on the Pinocchio one, because the Pinocchio one is probably the book that looks most similar. But the setup doesn't make as much sense, whereas the setup makes more sense for the evil queen in her book kind of thing. So yeah, I'm just really, really curious. And also, I'll ask this question. When we do get the next DLC, what characters would you like to see come with that DLC? So if they do based off of the last one, the characters are completely unrelated to kind of like the big bad. So we had Eve, we had Rapunzel, we had Gaston, and we had Jafar, and we had Oswald. So all from different universes. So obviously if we get Snow White, or rather Evil Queen from Snow White, what other characters do you think we could get? What other universes do you think we'll see? Do we think they'll explore new universes that have yet to come to the game? Or will they perhaps try and complete some of the universes we do have by, like, introducing Flynn Rider, for instance, to pair with Rapunzel and stuff like that? Do you think they're going to go down that route or something entirely different? Let me know your thoughts. I really love theorizing and guessing and speculating. As you've probably noticed from a lot of the videos on the channel recently, that's kind of what I've been doing. But I really enjoy it. I love to chat about this kind of stuff. I love to bounce ideas off of people. So by all means, if you want to, please feel free to join my Discord if you're not a part of it. I do love discussing in Discord, like when the announcements drop, if there's like things to guess on, I usually post in Discord straight away and kind of like theorize in there. So if you want to see my first initial thoughts to things, Discord is probably the place to be. But I do try and do these videos then on YouTube to kind of like push it out to everyone else, because not everyone has Discord. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this short little discussion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And a huge shout out to my channel members. Thank you so much for your support. I love you all. But yeah, let's wrap it up here. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.